Maino'oi o kia kua mauna loa o na lani hamai kaola. Thank you, God, for the gift of life, for all of our lives. It's with a great deal of nervousness. After watching the video of Mr. Takitani, it's very humbling watching someone like that. And when Mike had called me up a while back and asked me to come and speak to the group, I didn't think too much. It's very difficult to say no to Mike about anything because he's so active in the community, generating revenue and sources for people like the poor in Hawaii. So it was very difficult to say no, and I wasn't planning on saying no anyway. And first I'd like to say to the Takitani family, to the board of directors, to the foundation, to the families out here, the kupuna that are in the audience, to the scholarship recipients, aloha and congratulations to all of you, because it's a team effort as we go through. As I was watching the video, I was just reflecting back on part of my life, and I did get to meet the Takitani. So when I saw the Star Ice and Soda Works group up there, at my earlier part of my career, I was asked to go ahead and serve as a manager in Wailuku, at our Wailuku First Hawaiian Bank branch, and Star Ice and Soda Works is a big deal up there for us. And it's interesting that we go full circle, because they too influenced my life during the time that I was up there. But just setting back, I asked Mike, how long do I have to talk, you know? Because it's, I'll be real honest with you folks. As I pondered this day and what I'd say to all of you, I feel the same way now as I did that day. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of emotion that's generated. Because as I look at you out in the audience, I see myself. And it causes me to reflect back on the emotions that I felt as I was sitting in your seat and recognizing that this, for many families, this is one of the most significant events that will ever occur. Not only to you scholarship recipients as individuals, but for many of your families out there, this begins the start of a changing life for not only you, your family members, your extended family members, and the communities that you come from. Because you're breaking a cycle. And you're chasing a dream that for many of you, your families never had that dream. You know, and the reason why, this is the first time normally I've talked to groups in New Zealand, Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, Guam, Saipan, Washington, D.C. I've testified before Congress, and I normally don't write anything. The reason why I wrote today was because I wasn't sure I'd be able to say what I was supposed to say up here. So, and again, it's just a credit to you, and there's a lot of emotion and adrenaline flowing through my body now because I'm back to when I was 17 and sitting in your seats. You know, as I was sitting there with Mike, and Mike was giving me the quick grill on, you know, what is it you do, blah, 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 even though he's known me a long time. I was reflecting back on how I got to college and how my dream. I grew up in a family of, let me back up a bit. I'll tell you a bit about myself. I'll tell you about an experience that had an impact on my life and how I am who I am today. I'll talk about the important people in my life. I'll talk about the importance of character. I'll talk about the importance of your responsibility to yourselves, to your families, and to your community. And hopefully you can parallel many of the activities that all of you scholarship recipients are going through and your families are going through to some of the things that I've been through. But just to take an aside, I was sitting there with Mike and I was reflecting back on my childhood with respect to even aspiring to go to college. My name is Corbett Kalama. I come from a family of 11 kids. My father is Charles Allen Kalama. My mother was Elizabeth Kikauilani Kaekavaha Kalama, or Korea Kalama. I was raised in a 900-square-foot home, rented home in Kailua, one bedroom. My dad welded our beds together. So when everybody would talk about having bunk beds when we were children, we were the best in the neighborhood. We had triple-deck beds. You know, we had one triple-deck bed that was made of steel, and we slept 2 big kids to each bed. And then the baby would normally sleep between one of the 2 kids. And then we had a box spring and a mattress. And our kitchen, basically our kitchen was just a small little hole with a stove. And our tables were about half the size of this. It was like the old, when you go into the old Simon stands, you had the booth. That was our kitchen table for 13 people in our family. And as I was reflecting back through Mr. Takitani, and he said it had mentioned in there that he had gone to St. Anthony's Maui. I got an opportunity to go to St. Anthony's Kailua, and it took an event like this for me to find one of my classmates, Charles Bostwick, and who's here. I haven't seen him since grade school, at St. Anthony's grade school, and it's really exciting to see that his daughter's a recipient of this great foundation. You know, but as I was going through, I grew up that way in a small house. 11 kids, 6 boys, 5 girls. Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. 1 year apart. All same initial, C-A-K-K. And, you know, as we got older, you sit around, you know, during Christmas time, you talk to your parents, oh, what happened, you know? I said, oh, we never had TV, and we were deeply in love, you know? So it was... But, you know, you learn at a very young age that riches come to you in many shapes and forms. And it may not necessarily be through things. The size of your house, your car, the types of clothes that you wear. And you get back to those things that are very important. But it all starts with yourself. You've got your family there. They talk to you about your values and everything. But it takes you as individuals, as scholarship recipients, to make the right decisions and to have character and to look at the values that were imparted to you by your families. And one thing, as I reflect back on my childhood with my parents, both of them told us always to work hard. Both of them told us always that education was just the key for us moving on and really exploring the world. You know, I was talking to Mike earlier again about my first trip to the mainland. My first trip to the mainland, as he mentioned, I went to Kailua High School. We played a school in Oregon, a football game. That was my very first time on an airplane, ever. Never flew on an airplane. So that's my senior year in high school. We go to this place in Oregon, beautiful weather, September. Ooh, this is where I want to go to school, right? Thinking everybody's talking about that. So 13 of us decide we're going to go to this school. At that time, it was called Oregon College of Education, and then they since have changed their name to Western Oregon University. By the way, the football coach there at that time was Greg McMacken, who's here at our UH coach. That was the first school that he served as a coach. He was a defensive coordinator there. And what was interesting about that, we decided we're going to go to school. Well, of the 13 kids, I filled out my application and everything, and I sent it in. And I was the only one that did that. I didn't realize that. The other part is, you know, nowadays, a lot of the kids get to go on visits to go, I'm going to go visit a different school. There was no such thing. I had no idea where this school was. My introduction to the school was in the booklet that they gave me. And so I'm going to go to the school. I had no reference point at home with my parents because no one in my family ever had gone to school. So I didn't know what to do. My parents didn't know what type of guidance to give me to going through. And so I decided I'm going to go to school. So the second time I got on a plane was going to college. Had no idea where this place was. I had about $35 in my pocket, and I was going on hope. You know, I'm going to go up there. And fortunately enough, I get on the plane, and you're halfway to Portland. You know, we hit this rough patch, and the plane starts shaking around. And I get up out of my stupor, and said, what am I doing on this plane? I wanted to go home already, right? So fortunately, my journey took me. I got to school. I went up there, and I had a family friend whose mom had moved up there, and she picked me up and took me to this school. I had no idea what the place looked like. Went there, went to the financial aid office. They took me to the dormitory, and that was it. But as we were talking here at the table, it was the greatest thing. I had my own bed, you know. I had a shower that had a door on it. We had hot water, you know. We had a cafeteria that had food in it all the time. I didn't have to share my clothes with anybody that I took. And needless to say, I went up there with just one little suitcase, right? But anyway, that was my college experience as we went through, and just a number of things. But the points that I wanted to make with respect to my childhood growing up, you know, we respected one another. We were told whatever we had to share. My father and mother, at a very young age, taught me about how important it is to help others. And I think when you look at the Takitanis and what they're imparting to you folks and why you folks were selected, is because of your community involvement and your willingness. But that's just the start.